It was a quiet morning, the kind that wraps the world in a hush of old memories and forgotten promises. A pale winter sun pushed through the window blinds of room 217 at Willow Creek Retirement Home. The faint scent of antiseptic lingered in the air, mixing with the softer fragrance of lavender oil dabbed gently on the pillows. An old man lay still on the hospital bed, his face etched with the map of a long, perhaps lonely life. His name was Mr. Henry Alden, once a proud businessman, known across the country for building one of the largest real estate empires. But now, he was just a frail body held together by machines, memories, and the gentle touch of a young caregiver named Eliza. Eliza had only been working at Willow Creek for 6 months, but her presence was like a light in the dim corridors of the old-age facility. She wasn't like the others. While most rushed through routines, checking vitals, pushing wheelchairs, and making charts, Eliza slowed down. She remembered birthdays. She brought flowers from her garden. And most of all, she sang. Not loudly, not dramatically, just softly, like a whisper floating through time. She believed music reached where medicine couldn't. And every evening, as the sun sank behind the clouds and the world outside rushed past, Eliza would sit beside Mr. Alden, brush his hair gently with her fingers, and sing lullabies, old, forgotten tunes her grandmother had taught her back in a village where time seemed to stand still. She didn't know much about Mr. Alden, only what the nurses whispered, that he had a son, Ethan Alden, a powerful CEO who lived overseas, someone too busy to visit. The last time anyone had seen him was years ago, when the old man had suffered his second stroke. Since then, the visits stopped, but the money kept flowing. Eliza never judged. Life, she believed, was complicated. She didn't know why Ethan stayed away, but she also knew some wounds were too deep for the world to see. What she didn't know, what no one knew, was that Ethan Alden had come back. On a gloomy Thursday afternoon, Ethan walked into Willow Creek unannounced. Dressed in a simple coat, his face hidden beneath a baseball cap and dark sunglasses, he told the receptionist he wanted to see the facility before deciding whether to make a donation. But his real motive was different. Guilt had been eating away at him ever since he found the old birthday card in his drawer, one his father had sent him 5 years ago. It was unopened. Still sealed. A reminder of how far he had drifted. He had promised himself he would only stay a few minutes. Maybe see his father one last time, then leave. But when he reached the hallway outside room 217, he froze. Through the slightly open door, he saw her. Eliza sat beside his father's bed, her hands gently resting on the old man's arm. She wasn't checking charts or fluffing pillows. She was just there. Present. And then she began to sing. It was a haunting melody, one Ethan hadn't heard since childhood. His mother used to sing it when storms rattled their windows and thunder shook the house. He hadn't thought about that song in decades. But now, standing in that hallway, it hit him like a wave of forgotten warmth. He stepped closer, slowly, quietly. Eliza didn't see him. Her eyes were on Mr. Alden, who lay still, unresponsive, his breathing slow and uneven. Yet her voice didn't falter. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine." Tears welled up in Ethan's eyes. That song. That voice. That moment. It cracked something inside him, something he didn't even know was broken. He sat on the bench across the hall and watched. Every day. For a week. Every evening, Eliza came in, sang to his father, talked about her day, told little stories about the other residents, the birds on the windowsill, the way the rain painted the glass. She didn't know anyone was listening. She didn't do it for praise. She did it because she cared. Really, truly cared. On the 7th day, Mr. Alden moved his fingers. It was slight, almost imperceptible, but Ethan saw it. Eliza did too. Her eyes widened, and for the first time in weeks, a hopeful smile lit her face. "Mr. Alden, she whispered, kneeling beside him. "Can you hear me?" There was no answer, but his fingers twitched again. Tears spilled down Eliza's cheeks. "You're still fighting," she whispered. "Good. I'll keep singing. Just don't stop listening." Ethan couldn't take it anymore. That night, he stayed awake in the hotel room, haunted by his own silence. How had he let this happen? How had he abandoned the man who had built everything with his own hands? The next morning, he returned, not as a stranger, not as a ghost hiding in the hallway, but as a son. He knocked on the door gently. Eliza turned, startled. Her cheeks flushed. "Oh, sir, You're Eliza, right?" Ethan asked softly. "Yes," she said, trying to straighten the blanket on the bed. "I'm Ethan. His son." Her hands froze. "I've been watching. I hope that doesn't sound strange. But you've been here every day. Singing. Talking. Even when he couldn't respond." She looked down, embarrassed. "I just didn't want him to feel alone." Ethan nodded slowly. "You've done more for him in the last month than I've done in years." She didn't answer. He stepped closer to the bed. His father looked so different now. Smaller. Weaker. And yet, there was something peaceful in his expression, like a man slowly waking from a long sleep. "Thank you," Ethan said, his voice catching. Eliza looked up, and for the first time, she saw the grief in his eyes. "There's still time," she said gently. "He's still here." And so, the next day, Ethan sat beside his father. He didn't know what to say, so he just held his hand. Eliza came in quietly, humming the same tune. And something shifted. A room once filled with silence began to echo with healing. With love. What happened next would change Eliza's life forever. But that is for Chapter 2. Before you go, if this story touched your heart, please hit the like button. It helps more people discover these emotional journeys. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you never miss the next chapter of heartfelt stories that inspire, heal, and bring us closer together. See you in Chapter 2. A week passed since Ethan had revealed his identity to Eliza, and each day since had begun to feel like the pages of a new chapter in all their lives. The transformation inside room 217 was almost surreal. What was once a lonely chamber of silence had now become a place of subtle joy and quiet laughter. Mr. Henry Alden, while still unable to speak, had started responding with light squeezes of his son's hand, slow blinks to yes or no questions, and even the faintest attempt at a smile when Eliza sang his favorite songs. Ethan was now a regular part of the room, no longer an outsider watching from shadows, but a son trying to reclaim lost time. He'd arrive each morning with flowers or fresh books, and he'd listen attentively as Eliza updated him on the smallest of changes in his father's health. The bond between the caregiver and the son, once marked by silence, had grown into something sincere and comforting. They talked often, about music, memories, regrets, and healing. Eliza, though initially hesitant, slowly opened up about her life too. She told Ethan about her childhood in a small town, the mother she'd lost to cancer, and the younger siblings she was helping raise back home with whatever she earned from her job. She'd become a caregiver not because of money or ambition, but because she knew what it was like to feel helpless at the bedside of someone you love. Her kindness wasn't a performance, it was a quiet truth that shaped her soul. Ethan, in turn, spoke of a childhood spent chasing his father's attention, of a home where business calls always came before bedtime stories, and of a growing distance that turned into silence after his mother's death. He confessed he hadn't known how to forgive, how to bridge the space between resentment and love. And yet, watching Eliza's unwavering presence beside his father had changed everything. She didn't have any history with Henry Alden, no obligation to care, but she did, simply because she believed no one deserved to die alone. Her strength, her softness, her humility, all of it awakened something long buried in Ethan's heart. He started staying longer, helping Eliza with other residents too, reading to them, bringing treats, and sometimes even playing soft music on his phone. The staff at Willow Creek were surprised, even suspicious at first, but soon, everyone noticed the quiet change in him. Ethan Alden, once a name only seen in newspapers and TV interviews, had become just another visitor who cared. Then, one afternoon, as spring began to bloom outside the windows, something extraordinary happened. Eliza had just finished singing a folk lullaby when Henry Alden's eyes fluttered open, not just in recognition, but with intention. He looked at Ethan, then Eliza, then back at his son. Slowly, painfully, he lifted a trembling hand toward Ethan's face. Ethan leaned closer, tears already forming. "Dad?" The old man's lips moved, dry and cracked, barely audible. But they heard it, just one word, "Son." Ethan froze. Eliza gasped softly. The nurses came rushing in, but Ethan stayed right there, holding his father's hand like it was the most fragile thing in the world. "I'm here," he whispered. "I'm right here, Dad." That moment was more powerful than 1,000 apologies. Henry didn't say much after that. He was still weak, and the effort had drained him. But the wall had cracked. A new beginning had emerged from the ashes of silence. The next few days were filled with soft, heartfelt exchanges. Henry wrote notes to communicate. He told Ethan that he'd never stop thinking about him, that he was proud, even if he hadn't known how to show it. He thanked Eliza, too, scribbling shaky words that brought tears to her eyes. "Thank you for singing when no one else could hear." That sentence stayed with her. It wrapped around her like a warm blanket and refused to leave. One morning, Ethan arrived with a large envelope in his hand. He looked nervous, like a man about to make a life-changing decision. After Eliza finished helping Mr. Alden with his breakfast, Ethan asked if he could speak to her privately. They walked to the garden just outside the building, where cherry blossoms had begun to fall like soft rain. "Eliza," he said, his voice gentle, "I've thought a lot about everything these past few weeks. About my father, about this place, about you." She looked up, unsure what he was about to say. "I saw something in you I've never seen before. Real compassion. Real strength. And it made me realize how broken I've been living. You reminded me that people, real, honest people, can still change lives without money or power." He handed her the envelope. Eliza hesitated before opening it. Inside was a formal document. At first, she didn't understand. Then her eyes widened. It was a full scholarship offer to complete her nursing degree at the best university in the country, fully paid. Ethan, what is this?" "A thank you," he said, "for giving me my father back. And not just that. I've also spoken with the board at Willow Creek. I'm funding a complete renovation of the facility. New beds, new equipment, higher salaries. No more budget cuts or staff shortages." Eliza's hands shook. "This is too much. I didn't do any of this expecting a reward." "I know," Ethan said, smiling. "And that's why you deserve it more than anyone." Her eyes welled up, overwhelmed. "I don't know what to say, just promise me one thing," he said softly. "Don't stop singing. Not ever." And she didn't. Eliza went on to become a registered nurse, then later, a therapist specializing in elderly care and music therapy. Ethan remained part of her life, not just as the son of a former patient, but as a friend, a mentor, and eventually, something even deeper. Together, they established a foundation called the Song of Care, which helped train caregivers around the country, emphasizing emotional presence over clinical routine. As for Henry Alden, he lived another full year, a year filled with smiles, visits, soft songs, and reconciliation. When he finally passed away, it was not in silence, but to the sound of Eliza's voice, singing the same lullaby she'd sung the first day Ethan heard her. The one that changed everything. And as she finished the final verse, Ethan held her hand, whispering, "He's at peace. Because of you." In the end, it wasn't money, medicine, or machines that healed the deepest wounds. It was music. It was kindness. It was the soft, unwavering voice of someone who dared to sing when the world had fallen silent. And to everyone watching this story, if Eliza's journey moved your heart even a little, if you believe in the power of kindness and second chances, then please, take a moment to like this video. Share it with someone who might need hope. And most importantly, subscribe to our channel for more stories like this, real, emotional, and unforgettable. Because sometimes, one quiet act of love can change everything. We'll see you in the next story. Stay kind. Stay human.